Hello everyone, and welcome to the DashCast, where we go about trying to find the most interesting people in the world of cryptocurrencies, finance, and business. Today we're going to start off the podcast with a well-known figure in the cryptocurrency space, Charlie Lee. Not only is he well known for founding Litecoin, which is one of the largest cryptocurrencies out on the market, but along with that as well, he's become a well-known prominent figure in the cryptocurrency space. I wanted to pick his brain and see where he stands on a lot of different issues at the moment in the crypto space, and I think it provides a lot of value throughout the podcast. As a quick note, our sponsor for this video is Zencash. Zencash has recently changed their name to Horizon to better represent their transition from a simple cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're working towards the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizon platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizon to bring thousands of real-life services to the community, services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. The unique selling point of Horizon is a nod to their heritage and recognizes that they remain committed to the vision that their project was built upon. Their coin and ticker symbol remains as Zen. If you're interested in helping to spread the word of the new brand, click the link below to enter Horizon's competition to win a free Ledger Nano S. Learn more at the link down below. What's going on, everyone? Nicholas Merton here from Data Dash, and today on the first episode of the DashCast, a new podcast series I'm going to be doing here on the channel, we have the infamous Charlie Lee. Charlie, how are you doing? Thank you for coming on. It's a real big honor to talk to you as someone who's been in the space for a while. Love to hear from you and just talk about all types of different things today.
Good, I'm doing well. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So I want to kind of dive right ahead because I think most people understand that you're the founder of Litecoin, one of the most predominant cryptocurrencies. And I want to kind of get to know a little bit more about you and how you got into the space. I think it's always kind of interesting. You know, so many people learned about some of the bigger figures in the crypto space coming in this year and at the end of last year in 2017. But I'd like to get a little bit of knowledge on who you are as a person, you know, where you came from, and then also what kind of got you down the rabbit hole of cryptocurrencies.
Sure. What do you want to know? Like my
yeah, I guess like a short summary. I'd love to just hear about where you came from and everything, and then also specifically as well, what kind of intrigued you into crypto. I know a lot of people get in for the speculative nature, but I think you and I share a same nature from what I was able to learn about kind of looking for alternatives to traditional fiat currency.
Yeah, so a little bit about my background. So I graduated from MIT with a master's in computer science. And when I found out about Bitcoin and crypto, I was working at Google as a software engineer. So I kind of, also before that, I kind of knew the history of like how gold and silver played as like money in the past. And I've also done some commodities trading gold and silver futures. So I kind of had like the background for both the technical side of crypto and also the economic side of crypto. So that's why when I found out about Bitcoin, it really grabbed onto me, and I really understood kind of the power of decentralized money and how it can kind of revolutionize finance and be like a better version of gold and replace fiat. So
yeah. I kind of ran down into the same boat when I was during my speculative years of finance, pretty much around the same time as crypto was coming up, back in like the early 2010s. I was learning about central banking. I was learning about how the flaws of fiat currency still exist from the same currencies that have crashed back in the early 1900s and throughout history. And what I found is a really big issue is that everyone kept on resorting to gold and silver. And I was interested. I traded commodities back in the day as well. But I didn't see gold and silver really being used as a means of exchange. It held a store of value. It proved that throughout history. But it was really exciting, over time when I finally learned about crypto, to see something that was an alternative that actually might be able to work as a payment solution.
Yeah, so I saw like Bitcoin as like a better version of gold, where it's very similar to gold, but it's better because it's cheaper to transact and cheaper to store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing, is having something that you can send on a digital basis across the world within a matter of a few minutes. I was, for example, looking at there's a recent tweet that came out. I was going back and forth with someone about how in like Venezuela and in Argentina and in Turkey, for example, these are all emerging markets that are experiencing currency crises. And right now, I think crypto should really take upon the opportunity to spread the word of crypto, to share crypto with these people, because they're in a situation where crypto adoption can actually come to fruition as a payment solution, and we can really take it mainstream. But I've been feeling that the crypto community hasn't been really engaging on this that much. It seems like it's kind of a missed area.
Yeah, I think we're still kind of early. Most people are still treat crypto as a speculative investment, right? So it's more about buying, selling, and holding the coin more than using it. So I kind of want to like help move us towards more of like using Bitcoin, Litecoin as payments, as for like, especially for countries like Venezuela where the currency is so bad.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the thing I'm curious about as well, because I know that obviously Litecoin itself is a decentralized cryptocurrency, but there's also the Litecoin Foundation on top of, kind of building out the ecosystem. I'm curious, what are you guys doing to kind of build out not only Litecoin, but also crypto adoption? Have you guys been working on new wallets, new technical upgrades to the protocol?
So I don't know if you've heard recently, we bought 9.9% stake in the bank. So we kind of want to work on crypto adoption from also partnering with banks on that side and try to push crypto adoption wherever we can. So we're obviously creating new wallets like Lightning Network wallets, mobile wallets, and stuff like that, just to make it very easy for people to hold the currency and also to spend it.
Cool. So in this case, now that you have kind of a fiat gateway in this sense, or at least a bank of some sort that can actually take to the mainstream, how many clients are you expecting to reach with that? Kind of like a ballpark estimate, like with acquiring the bank. How much of an opening is this going to bring for crypto?
I mean, it's unclear now what the potential of this is. I mean, we'll see it when we get there, I guess. We want to kind of just create solutions and see if we can kind of help foster adoption.
Yeah.
I really don't have like a ballpark figure of what we're targeting. I mean, it doesn't really matter. From my point of view, we just try to do different things and see what helps with adoption.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the one thing that I liked that I saw was a recent tweet that you put out talking about the concept of like sidechains. I mean, this has been a topic for a while, but how Litecoin could act as a sidechain for Bitcoin. I think I've got actually the screen grab right here where you're talking about using atomic swaps as a means to actually be able to use Lightning. If I'm correct on this, using Litecoin as kind of the payment gateway for faster transactions, and then being able to use Bitcoin as more of the store of value, whereas it would make Litecoin more of the side chain for Bitcoin. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah, what I'm trying to say with that tweet is that with like atomic swap on Lightning, you can easily move value across the two chains, right? So in that sense, it's kind of like a side chain where you can move value across. So you can send Bitcoin on one end, and the recipient can receive Litecoin, or vice versa. So both coins can act as a way to transfer value. And I think the most important thing is the future I see is that users don't have to care about the underlying network. Similar to today, when you're using the internet, you don't care whether it's like TCP/IP or UDP. All you care is that the content, whether it's a website or like Netflix streaming, gets to you. And that's all you care about, which is content. And then in this example, in the crypto space, the content equivalent is value, right? You just care about transferring value either between people or from you to a merchant. And you don't care if you're using Bitcoin, or even if you're using like fiat or stable coins or whatever. You just want to be able to send value that you have, whether it's stored in Bitcoin, gold, Litecoin, USD, to someone else. And the payment rail could be Lightning over Bitcoin, between Bitcoin and Litecoin, or something else, right? Something that we haven't invented yet today. But I think that's very important, where we want the UI or the user experience, the UX, to be good enough so that the users don't have to know the nitty-gritty details.
Yeah, that's what I see it as. In the future, it's going to be as simple as most mobile applications like Venmo or Cash, for example, sending money or spending it with QR codes. And I think we'll get more adjusted to that. I think in the Western world, like in the US, for example, we're not very used to that, and even in Europe. But I think, you know, what we've seen in Asia has been a massive boom towards that. And I think we're going to see the adjustment as well when people see the benefits. And in regards to the topic of, you know, having underlying protocols, I think Lightning could become that. I'm curious to actually get your opinion on it, though, because I know, for example, at the Litecoin Summit, which is coming up here in September, I saw that you had, for example, if I remember her name, Stephanie from Lightning Labs, and she's going to be there, and you guys are going to obviously probably be promoting some of the stuff in regards to Lightning. What does the development look like to you so far? Because I've been keeping up with it for a while, but I'm interested to hear where you think the current state of it is and how far we are really out from seeing it become mainstream.
Yeah, so I think you're referring to Elizabeth Stark.
Elizabeth, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, she's the CEO of Lightning Labs. Yeah, so I'm very excited about the Litecoin Summit. It's kind of like our first major Litecoin conference, and I'm glad to see like people like Elizabeth Stark, Bill Barnett, and others speaking at the Litecoin conference to talk about predominantly like Bitcoin technologies like Lightning Network that Litecoin is also using and helping out. So I'm happy to see how we're kind of Litecoin is how Litecoin is complementing Bitcoin. So Elizabeth Stark will be talking about Lightning networks and how it's they're building that out right now. Like there's a lot of different teams working on Lightning, and Lightning Lab is just one of many. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about it is that the Lightning network is compatible, right? So Bitcoin users, or Bitcoin Lightning network and Litecoin Lightning network, it's pretty much the same Lightning network. It's just on two coins, so you can send values across the two networks. So I'm sure Elizabeth will talk a little bit about that, about atomic swaps, cross-chain atomic swaps, and how that's going to come about. I think right now the Lightning developers, they're not really focused a lot on the atomic swap part of it. They kind of want to build out the infrastructure of Lightning, the protocol, make sure everything's working well, making sure people don't lose money, making sure the Lightning channels can be managed well so that people don't have to think too much about it. I mean, the last thing you want is users having to kind of manage the channels themselves, have to make sure. Mm-hmm. You don't want people to be worried about that. You just want people to be able to send value, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest concerns I think most had with Lightning was that if there is too much management or if there's too many, I know, for example, one issue with Lightning has been the payment channel like requirements. So, for example, if I want to transfer a certain set of value, I need that underlying Bitcoin within the channels because it's swapping IOUs in a sense. And I think that if Lightning itself can't be simply operable in the background where there's not too much head over, it's going to end up not becoming too much centralized, but it's definitely going to be streamlined and there's not going to be as much distribution as hoped as before. But it looks good right now. I've been keeping up with the actual net and everything and the amount of Bitcoin stored on it. So it's interesting. But yeah, I think the concerns of, yeah.
Right now, the channels are pretty small. I mean, for good reasons. I think the developers put like really limited restrictions on the channels. You can't create channels that are too big. Mm-hmm. Just to kind of protect the users a bit because you don't want people losing a lot of money. So you want to keep the amount of money locked up to be relatively small, at least right now when it's kind of still in beta stage. As the network, as people get more comfortable with it and we improve the technology, they will increase the limits so people can put more money into the Lightning network. So I'm not worried about that. I think that's just, it's there for a reason. Mm-hmm. And of course there are growing pains, right? So there are issues that we find and people are solving. I don't see any like huge problems with it. All the problems are solvable. I think the major issue is UX. I think it's how to make it easy and make it even transparent from the user, where you don't really know or care if your payment is sent on chain or over Lightning, right? So from the user point of view, they just send value to the recipient, and it could be Lightning, it could be on chain, it could be Lightning that goes through Litecoin for all they care. All that matters is the value gets to the recipient.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious to ask you as well on the kind of topic of scaling. Outside of Lightning Network, kind of stepping back towards December, this is something that I've been eager to kind of ask someone like you, Charlie, because when I was back in December, obviously there was two kind of important things that I noticed at the time. There was obviously the big debate between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and I don't think we'll even go down that route. But towards the other thing that I did notice at the time, and probably anyone who's getting into crypto in late December, was the high transaction fees for Bitcoin. Now, you and I both know SegWit adoption is going up. Last time I checked, it was around 40%. And obviously we have Lightning Network coming, so this is definitely good. But do you see in the future, a higher block size or a smaller block time for the Bitcoin network? I know, for example, Litecoin offers 2.5 minute blocks, and then because of that, you can pretty much fit the 4 times the throughput for the Litecoin network. Do you see the Bitcoin network increasing block size to any degree, even if it's something as simple as what was proposed during SegWit 2x, which is a 2 times block size increase?
I think that, I don't know yet. Like, there are various different improvements that can be made to Bitcoin to help it scale further. And there may be other secondary solutions like Lightning Network that can help Bitcoin scale. So I think if right now, from the looks of it, we may need a increase in block size if we want Bitcoin to scale to the whole world. Potentially just a 2x increase or a 4x increase. But a small increase may be needed. I think if we do, if we get there, I think we'll just have to, people have to agree that this is really needed. Like last year with the SegWit 2x debate, Bitcoin really didn't need a 2x bump at that point because SegWit was actually a 2x bump. And as you saw today, like the fees came down, right? SegWit actually was enough to tie us over to potentially Lightning Network being here next year or later this year. So for now, I don't think we need another increase in block size. And stuff like things coming down the pipeline, for example, like Schnorr signatures could help make it utility block size more efficient, right? So we can cram more transactions into the same block size. So I think things like that will just help improve scale. And if we don't need a 2x increase or a block size increase, that's even better, right? Because it's controversial no matter what. I don't think it will have a very simple hard fork for Bitcoin. But the nice thing is that, at least from my point of view, Litecoin actually helps with Bitcoin scaling. It's a different kind of scaling. It's scaling to utilize the Litecoin network via like atomic swap over Lightning.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Bitcoin and block size. I think that an increase in block size is fine. I think around like the 2 to 4 megabytes. But I always run into the topic of, for example, like you mentioned, Schnorr signatures. I feel that it's best that, much like with SegWit, we optimize blocks as best as we can with the structure of how we actually fulfill transactions, or, for example, and in any way that we can actually take down the data structure and actually use less per transaction. That's what seems to fascinate me more, because that kills the argument for those who say, for example, increasing block size, sets higher standards for bandwidth concerns. I don't think it's too big of a concern, especially for the miners. But if you feel, for example, that on the nodes in the network that they're going to be stressed, stuff like Schnorr signatures should hopefully come in the next few months or next year and make blocks more efficient. And then we can talk after we've really structured blocks to the best capacity that they can be, and then eventually talk about increasing block size.
Yeah, I think most people don't understand the trade-offs. Like, why can we not just increase the block size to 1 gigabyte blocks? Like, why are we restricting that to 1 megabyte blocks? I think. But then on the other hand, people who are like starting new, who are trying to run a node, ask the question like, why does it take like 3 days to download the whole blockchain? Like, once you increase the blocks to, for example, Bitcoin Cash has 32 megabyte blocks. If those would have filled up with blocks, then it's 32 times the size of Bitcoin, and it just becomes unmanageable, and people won't be running nodes. And the problem with that is, if no one runs nodes, then all you have is large corporations and miners running nodes. And if in that scenario, if they decided to make a change, there's no one to say no because no one else is running nodes. So, for example, last year with the Segwit 2x push, those were pretty much like 90% of the companies and miners wanted Segwit 2x. But the reason why it failed is because the users didn't. And the users kind of stood up against it, and the companies and the miners backed down and canceled the Segwit 2x initiative. But if users weren't running nodes, then something like Segwit 2x would easily go through. And if you see something like that going through, you can also imagine a situation where the miners want to increase the block rewards or change the inflationary aspect of the coin because they want to make more money, or they're not making enough, right?
Yeah. If
it's hard to run a node, then it costs more to keep the nodes up and running, and they want to get paid more. And if that happens, it's just gonna kind of get pushed through.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about Bitcoin and Litecoin is that it's more decentralized in that aspect. With people being able to run nodes, then people have a say in how the network functions and moves forward in the future.
So when you say nodes in that case, was it just simply users running standard nodes on the network, keeping a copy of some sort of the ledger, or were these mining nodes that were coming from the community being able to stand up?
Using nodes. So basically nodes that are actually used by users, right? Oh. So I'm not talking about like spinning up 1,000 nodes on Amazon data centers, because if no transactions are going through it, they don't really matter. So I'm talking more about economic nodes where users actually run the nodes and to protect themselves, right? Yeah. To have a day of not upgrading to a malicious, to not doing a malicious upgrade because they don't want to.
Okay. Cool. So I'm curious to ask you as well, Charlie and stuff. I know you're pretty dedicated to Litecoin personally, but I'm curious, are there any other projects out there or pieces of tech that are exciting to you as someone who's been around the space since, back in the early days of crypto? So, for me, I've been big on like directed acyclic graphs. I think that there's some potential there. There needs to be obviously some fixes to security flaws, but Lightning Network as well has kind of caught my eye. But are there any specific projects or pieces of tech that you have your eye on at the moment?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about fungibility improvements to Bitcoin and Litecoin. So I think one of the key features of good sound money that's missing from Bitcoin and Litecoin is fungibility. So fungibility is like privacy, right? So where if I get one Litecoin from you versus a Litecoin from someone else, I can't tell the difference. One Litecoin is one Litecoin.
Yeah.
So right now, when this happens, when I receive Litecoin, I can see a whole history of the transaction. So I can discriminate between one Litecoin versus the other. It's similar to like getting a $20 bill and smelling drug residue from it, right? So you can say this money was used to buy drugs or something, and you can say I don't want this money, or just some money that's more torn up or that has marks over it. You can say I don't want this. I want a fresh $20 bill. So that hurts fungibility, right? So with Bitcoin and Litecoin, I think fungibility improvements like that's coming up, like for example, confidential transactions is something that I'm really keeping an eye on. And another thing is work on Mimblewimble, which is another protocol that someone's coming up with, or a team of people are coming out with a new coin I believe it's called Grin, that uses Mimblewimble technology. I think that's very interesting also.
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot about Mimblewimble, and to your point about fungibility earlier, that was the first time I ever thought about that was with Zcoin, for example. I was looking through privacy coins at the time, and they use zero knowledge proofs in the sense of, for example, not having tainted money. So if, for example, someone bought money on the Silk Road or got money from making a sell on the Silk Road or some type of drug-based website, and then they transfer that money to you, we could be liable in a case for that, or we could be tied to it in some way because it's all in a public ledger. So I absolutely see the benefits to kind of increasing fungibility, seeing something as simply its value rather than having some type of legacy tied to it that you might not be involved in, especially with, for example, like chain analysis and all these companies that are coming up, keeping track of every single person on the Bitcoin blockchain.
It's not just about doing things that are illegal, right? It's more about financial privacy. So
Yeah.
say if you're getting paid in Bitcoin, your salary is getting paid in Bitcoin, you don't want to spend those coins and having someone figure out how much money you have or how much money you're getting paid, right? And that's not cool. And right now, a lot of advanced users actually had to pick and choose which inputs they want to send, right?
Yeah.
This is a large input that they purchased like 10 Bitcoins from the exchange. They don't want to use that to show the recipient that they have 10 Bitcoins or more, right? So they want to pick a smaller input. And that's just it's not a good feature of money where you have to pick and choose which coins to send.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a big issue. Like people have, for example, I know many people in the space see privacy as kind of a secondary feature of cryptocurrencies, but I'm like, well, if you think about it, and the flaw itself is that it's on a public ledger. So if you don't have some form of privacy, or at least giving authority for someone to see your financial transactions, I believe that on cryptocurrency, we do need to work towards that. We need to have some type of system where I can, like you said, make a simple purchase somewhere. I can tell you, for example, on the other side of the equation, as a business, I would hate to have a business and accept Bitcoin, and then after someone sends me a transaction, they can look at my address and see all of my previous transactions. You know, yeah, that's definitely. I mean, it's the standard for both businesses and for people. We don't have a public ledger presented to the world of our savings accounts, right? So, no, I 100% agree with you on that. I'd love to see more talk about it. I mean, there's been a few other forks of Bitcoin. There's been like Bitcoin Private, and obviously a lot of privacy coins out there. But I think we need to see it on the actual official Bitcoin protocol, and hopefully see it merge over to Litecoin as well. That'd be really interesting to maybe yet again take the first step and dive into adopting a new update to the protocol.
And yeah, that's a good point. I think that's going to happen because I think privacy features will be pretty controversial. So Litecoin potentially could test the waters, so to speak.
Yeah.
Maybe this happens if Litecoin adds confidential transaction, would exchanges delist Litecoin, or would people be okay with it? Because with confidential transactions, you can still show the exchange, like you can give them the view key, right, so they can see the transactions. But then you won't have a lot of history like what Coin Analysis can give you. So I don't know I think a lot of like governments are kind of worried about privacy coins. So I think it was Korea that got all their exchanges to delist all the privacy coins.
Oh yeah.
The crucial topic.
I think, yeah, it was CoinCheck after they had the $530 million NIM hack. They also, I think, had hacks on, it was either Monero or Pivx or one of the privacy coins. But no, I mean, I agree with you. I was very concerned. I was thinking we would never see a privacy coin listed on like a fiat gateway exchange. But lo and behold, Gemini actually, the Winklevoss Twins exchange, they actually listed Zcash. I was really surprised about that. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I feel that even if you can provide a view key and stuff, not having that legacy, which is why governments, I think, have felt comfortable with crypto. It'll be interesting to see how they respond with that for exchanges like Coinbase, which are very heavily tied towards a lot of larger governmental institutions nowadays.
Yeah. But from what I know, Zcash, most of the transactions are not shielded, right? Because like it costs, it's just more cumbersome to use private transactions on Zcash, and because there's an option, most people don't use private transactions on Zcash. So for whatever it's worth today, I don't think Zcash is very private.
Oh, okay. So in that case, I mean, could exchanges restrict it to where they only take public transactions?
They could. I'm not sure what Gemini is doing today with Zcash. But it's definitely interesting to see a regulated exchange like Gemini support Zcash. It's a good sign, I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I mean, I'm curious. I know you're kind of short on time, Charlie, but I would love to just kind of hear, you know, what you're looking forward to over the next few months. What kind of ambitions do you have for Litecoin? Obviously, I think everyone has their eye on the market, but there's been a lot of really interesting fundamental pieces of tech coming out over the past few weeks and months, and then proceeding over the next few weeks and months. So I'd like to hear overall, what are your kind of ambitions for the rest of 2018 and going into 2019 as well, you know, for cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, so the first thing I'm looking forward to is the Litecoin Summit. I urge everyone to come check it out. It would be cool to see all these companies and supporting Litecoin and Bitcoin. Yeah, it'll be in San Francisco, September 14 and 15. So things coming in the horizon. I think I'm really most excited about Lightning Network. I think that's going to be a game changer for Bitcoin and Litecoin. It's really the right way to scale these public blockchains using layer 2 solutions, because you kind of get the best of both worlds with layer 2, where the base layer is still like decentralized, secure, and then you can scale to huge number of transactions per second. Also have cheap fees, and even add some added privacy when you're using Lightning, because your transaction is not broadcasted to everyone. So you have some extra privacy when you're using Lightning Network payments. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of like a win-win-win for everyone involved. Yeah. And that's why I was so excited about SegWit and Lightning in the first place. So, and then we also talked about like confidential transactions that's coming along, Schnorr signatures. These are very cool, like upgrades to Bitcoin and Litecoin that I foresee coming in the next year or two.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, no, we'll keep an eye on it and everything. On the channel, we're starting to talk a little bit more about some of the technical pieces that are coming up, because we were very, I think most people were obviously focused on the market aspect of crypto. And I think there's a lot of exciting things coming on both ends, both in the market aspect, but also in regards to the tech. And it's interesting to see, even though it seems like such a slow pace because we're so used to all the rapid excitement in crypto. I mean, there's some really exciting things coming around the horizon, I think, in 2018 and 2019, not just in the pricing and regulatory space of crypto, but actually on the tech and scaling side. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Schnorr signatures can come this year, and hopefully if we can see Lightning as well hit the books and actually, you know, be able to deliver on front-end applications so we can use it. But Charlie,
yeah, people say that this is the least interesting aspect of crypto.
Yeah, I always tell people, I mean, the thing I say for the long term, and I think this is a good kind of wrap up here, is that the thing I mentioned the other day, I was talking with the NANO community, for example. Like I said, I'm big on peer-to-peer digital cash plays. And I think people don't realize what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an emerging currency market. And how small crypto is. I mean, people are worrying about trades within a single day. I don't care so much about how values are changing in a day or two. The volatility excites me a tad bit, but I think more than anything, this market is going to expand. And if you're in it, you're going to win in the long term. And along with that as well, you're going to be a part of a really interesting revolution in money that we haven't seen pretty much. I think we'll never see another one of these in our lifetime. So I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Charlie, thank you again for spending the time. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming on, and would love to have you back sometime in the future. We'll be keeping up with everything Litecoin and the Litecoin Foundation is doing. So appreciate you taking the time to talk.
Cool. Thanks, Nicholas.
And that's going to be it for the first installment of the DashCast. Thanks so much, everyone, for giving this new series a chance. And if you liked it, please leave a thumbs up down below on the video. And along with that as well, if you have some time, please give me some feedback in the comments as to who I should have next on the series. I want to know what you guys want to see on the podcast series, as well as who you believe would bring value to the Data Dash community. Outside of that, again, I want to give a big shout out and thanks to Charlie Lee for coming on to the podcast, as well as our sponsor, Zencash, which is now being rebranded to Horizon. Until the next episode, everyone, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next podcast episode.